Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think it's become quite apparent and very vivid at this point in time that Disney just loves to keep on losing money with what they have done with Elemental, The Little Mermaid, and of course Indiana Jones 5, and now the up-and-coming Snow White 2024 film that's all set and ready to debut by March of next year. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. And let's get right into the subject, shall we? Now, as you all know, the stars of this movie are Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot. We also have, of course, the 7 dwarves that are going to be reimagined in this film. Of course, those set leak pictures are still up for debate on whether or not they are legitimate and or doctored, so a lot of people are trying to figure that out. We do know that Disney has come forward saying that they are not quote-unquote official images, which could mean 2 different things. We talked about that earlier. It could very well mean that they're just fake, or they were not photographed by, of course, those over at Disney. I would actually believe it's the latter. Now, when we look at everything related to what's going on with all of the leaks related to Snow White 2024, we discussed, of course, how the ending will be reimagined, and given that this film, by the way, it's going to have a totally different queen, it's going to have a totally different prince, there's no Prince Florian, or anything like that, we have Jonathan instead. But moving onwards, what's really interesting is exactly why Disney just loves to keep on destroying franchise after franchise. You know, The Little Mermaid was, the biggest one of all that really got wrecked. And now we have Snow White up and coming. So, on top of this, with Disney currently getting much backlash to Snow White 24 starring Rachel Zegler, many developing, of course, everything related to all of that, have surfaced related to the plot of the upcoming film to be released in March of next year. However, one major piece of the plot is said to involve Rachel Zegler's portrayal of Snow White holding multiple scenes in which she talks down to Jonathan, who is the new replacement of Prince Florian from the 1937 original. Now, one of the specific scenes that were shot is said to involve a moment in which Snow White actually fights with one of the huntsmen that will be a part of the retelling by Disney for 2024. Zegler's version of the character is said to be a strong, independent take on the character, and is a recreated scene from 1937 Snow White, in which the huntsman attempts to actually engage Snow White with the dagger. The scene that was shot involved a key moment where Snow White kicks the huntsman, takes the dagger, stomps her foot on his chest, pins him down, and demands why he is trying to destroy her. This is when he begs for mercy and reveals Gal Gadot's Queen Clementiana and her plan to the film, and how she will stop at nothing. So let me just stop right here for one moment. Now, you guys may very well recall, if you have seen the original 1937 movie, in case you have not, let's just make a real quick recap. In that film, the huntsman comes with a dagger, Snow White gets all frazzled and afraid, scared, out of her mind, and the huntsman eventually says, I can't do it. I just can't do it. He puts the dagger down, and he begs for, forgiveness. And he unveils, the queen's plan, essentially. Tells her to run, and that's how the original scene went. In this case, it is completely just turned around. And look, I get it. You're gonna have reimagined franchises out there, but I just feel like that this is typical Disney of really just doing their absolute best to just go out of their way to make, any kind of female character to completely just be one of the reasons why the male characters will be considered a fool or powerless or anything like that. We've seen this constantly, by the way, in Star Wars and in many cases of other, franchises out there that are a part of Disney. So that's not the end of it, however. It keeps on going. Now, this is a new queen entirely and different than Queen Gromelda. Now, the huntsman is said to be the one afraid of Snow White rather than the other way around, like in the original. In addition to this, Mirror Mirror on the Wall is described to have a complete redesign for the film, to the point where the character is unrecognizable from any of the films, including the 1937 original, with dialogue that is best described as cringeworthy through some of the test screenings that took place for this movie. Now, in case you guys did not know, filming did wrap mainly back in July of 2022, just be aware about that. Now, dialogue was re-recorded a couple of months ago to improve the issue. Whether or not that is 100% resolved is a mystery. However, in a shocking turn of events, Disney has been debating completely deleting Mirror Mirror on the Wall completely from this movie, since the scene filmed was such a disaster on screen when testing the footage between that character and Gal Gadot's new Queen character, Clementiana. Most of filming ended in July of 22, and many revisions have been made ever since. Now, it doesn't stop there, because we know that basically this iteration of Snow White, and that's what Bob Iger likes to say, by the way, it's a new iteration of the character, a new personality, new design, new everything. And I think a lot of fans are going to have a problem with this. And given if those set leaks are real, if they are legitimate and not doctored, which they do line up with the leaks that we talked about previously, very briefly, months and months ago, that the dwarves would be redesigned and that they would be very different than we have ever seen before. You know, we do know that there's been a lot of rumblings that maybe they're just stand-ins there in that photograph. But I digress. The problem at hand here, I feel, is the fact that they are trying so hard to make this pretty much a beat-for-beat repeat of 1937's take on Snow White, while also modernizing it, alright? They are also completely changing the nature of the story. Now, given that Little Mermaid, as much criticism as it got, it almost followed everything beat for beat, for the most part. They tried to, at least. They're trying to do the same exact thing here with Snow White 24, but modernizing it, like I say. So it's going to have that modern twist on it, but also it's going to have those scenes all reimagined in a way that I think is really going to be a turnoff for many. So this is interesting, though, because given that there's a lot of things being changed around, and that's the problem, the fact that they're trying to make this the 1937 essential while inserting new characters, it just doesn't make any sense coming from Disney. So I think that's another problem at the end of the spectrum here. So Bob Iger, alright, when he was actually being pushed for Snow White's remake, you know, he talked about this about a year ago, that this movie would very much be a diverse film. It would also be a film that's going to really kind of explore different avenues that we have never seen before, different twists and turns, etc. And they do plan, by the way, we talked about this yesterday, they do plan on making sequels for the Snow White film, much like how they are already planning on a Little Mermaid sequel, regardless of the box office numbers. And, you know, given that The Lion King is getting a prequel, such as the Mufasa film, stuff like that. It's going to be kind of like that, where they want to at least get another installment out there. I just don't think it's going to work. It can be in development for as long as it wants to. Development means nothing, guys. It means they're either talking about it, brainstorming things, and that could eventually just come to a halt at any given day. So I wouldn't, you know, bet on anything getting adapted further. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.